Hey there guys, welcome to the next tutorial here on the channel. In this video I'm going to be showing you guys kind of how to make a deluxe book cover is what I'm going to call it. It's going to be basically a book cover that we're going to be using my leather bound copy of The Hobbit here. And I'm going to be showing you how to make a book cover, but we're going to add a whole bunch of different things into it as well. So instead of it being, just the cover for the book, it's going to have, like an ID holder, a place to put a bookmark, and pretty much whatever else you want to throw into the cover here. So let's get started on the tutorial. Now obviously before we get started, you're kind of limited as to how much you can put into the book cover depending on how big the book is that you're making it for. So since this book is fairly small, it's about less than 5 inches across and I don't know, maybe about 8 inches or 7 inches high. The book cover is going to be fairly small, but if you're making this for a textbook, like for a school book or something like that, of course you can throw much more into something that's kind of like a dictionary sized book rather than something this small. So what your first step is you're going to do is you're going to measure all the way around from the end of one cover all the way to the back. And sometimes you can do this by kind of opening the book all the way and then kind of measuring it there. It was about 9.5 inches or so all the way around. So I cut 2 strips of tape that are 10 inches long. And what we're going to be doing is sticking these both together. And this is just to get us started. We're going to be using probably at least maybe 8 or so more strips after I stick these two together. So cut out a whole bunch more strips and you're going to keep going until you have just a little bit of extra room on the top all the way down to the bottom here and a little bit of extra room on the bottom. So it's definitely a decent amount of strips, probably about 8 or so. Alright, so there we have our sheet of tape. You can tell it's about 1/4 of an inch room on the top and bottom, and of course when I open this all the way up it probably has at least about 1/4 of an inch on either side. Now what we typically do, if we were making just a normal simple book cover, all we would do is take those 2 strips of tape, double-sided of course, put them on the side here, and that would be where each part of the book kind of slides into, and then you would fold up and you'd be on your way. But we're actually going to be doing a little bit more. Like I said, this is going to be more of a deluxe book cover, so we're going to be making a much larger flap that we can stick a whole bunch of cool things into, and it'll be a little bit trickier to kind of stick the whole thing on. So let's get started on working on those pieces right now. Now you'll also notice I have a crease directly in the center here, and that'll kind of give me an idea of exactly where the center of it is. And of course I want to go a little bit farther out than that just to give room for the entire spine of the book. So I'm going to put those to the side here, just kind of tilt it to the side. I cut out about 4 strips of tape that are the length of the height of the book cover when it's sitting like that, of course. So I'm going to put that aside. I'm going to take these 4 strips, stick them together, and then this will be pretty much I think our first flap for the one side. And this will probably be enough room to work with whatever I'm putting into this specific book cover here. But of course you can make them any size you want. You can make them as small as you want or as large. Totally up to you. So there's my 3rd strip. This will be my 4th one. Just making a small sheet to work with. And if you turn it this way, that's pretty much more than enough to put like an ID holder and whatever, like a business card holder or a credit card holder, or maybe even like a spot for the bookmarks. That's what I'm going to be doing right now. So at this point we really have to seal it up if we're going to start working on any other part of the book cover. So I have 1 strip of tape, that's the length or the height of the book cover here. I'm going to put half of it on this side, half of it on the surface that you're working on, flip the whole thing over, make sure it's lined up, and then you're going to fold it back around to the back just like that. Then I have 1 strip of tape, that's the length of this piece here, and I cut that in half, so I have 2 pieces to work with. Once again, half of it on that, half of it around the back. Very simple. We're just basically sealing the entire thing up. And you can seal up the one side because when you're making the other side, you'll just leave the flaps open so that you can slide the whole book in with the 2 covers and then attach it from there. So you don't have to wrestle with it trying to get it in after you've sealed it all up. So I'll show you that a little bit later. So now there we have the one part, of course, that's where the cover will go in just like that. So it looks great. Now let's put a few things into it. So the first thing I want to do is throw an ID holder into it, and probably one of the most popular questions I get on the channel is where do I get the clear plastic to use on the ID holders. I actually got them. I actually kind of used transparencies, which were used back on the old projectors. Those clear plastic sheets where the letters would be printed on, and you would set that on top of the projector, and it would be projected up on the wall. Well, they don't actually make those kind of projectors anymore, so I'm kind of using that old stock. But you can usually get the clear plastic film if you buy like a really cheap binder binder, and usually there's clear plastic wrapped around it which you can slide like a paper into to kind of almost like a label almost on the back and the front of the binder. And if you get some cheap binders, you can cut all that plastic off and then eventually use it as ID holders, and that works really well. And you might, if you're using a whole bunch of ID holders, you probably have to upgrade to something a little bit more comprehensive than that, but that'll definitely get you started if you're trying to you know, use something really great for ID holders. So I'm going to be sticking this right on this piece here, kind of wrapping it around, and of course I got the clear plastic in the center, and then that just slides in just like that. So now I have a nice ID holder inside my book cover. So now we move on to the other side of the book cover, and I have that connected on the top. This is a whole another flap, you know, for the right side. And on this side, I'm just going to make, you know, a small little pocket for a just really a business card. But if you want to use like kind of like a bookmark or something along those lines, you can definitely make that whatever size you want. So I have the that piece right in here. So I'm going to stick that whole pocket on there, ready to go. And that's where my bookmark, or you know, my business card will go for the meantime. And then we leave that open, and now what we're going to do is we're going to actually put the entire book in there. Now you want to stick it down here, but you don't want to wrap that around the back. You just leave that kind of the sticky side exposed at the moment. Just be careful with it, because it'll, you know, get stuck to pretty much anything. Do the same thing with the top. Don't peel it around the back, or fold it around the back, and make sure it's not attached. Then you're going to take your inner part here, you're going to slide that in just like this. Make sure it's all the way to the top. You want to make sure the entire you know, spine of the book, or the, you know, the flap of the book is all the way to the edge here. And then you want to come over here, kind of go inside the book. You might have to kind of work it to make sure it gets all the way in there. And then you're going to fold this over. Might be a little bit of an excess, but you can always trim that off. It's not going to be a problem. And then do the same thing for the bottom. And there we have it. And then we'll take a pair of scissors and trim that off right there. Alright, so there you have it, kind of like a deluxe book cover with your ID on one side. It got a, you know, bookmark holder on the back. Of course, you can play around with this if you're working with a much larger book. Like I said in the beginning of the tutorial, you can put like kind of a pen clip on the inside if you don't mind, you know, the inside getting a little, you know, crinkled because of the pens sticking up in here. But you can put like a little spot for the pens to hang out. Maybe a few erasers if you're using it for a school book or something along those lines. You definitely have a lot more space to work with if you're using a much larger book. So that's how to make a, you know, deluxe book cover. Hopefully you guys liked the tutorial, and there should be another tutorial coming tomorrow. I'll have to wait and see if I can get that up for you guys tomorrow. So take care, hope you liked the video, catch you next time.